Welcome back to Midwest Magnum. I'm Kurt.
I'm Daryl.
I'm Wes.
I'm Matt.
Today we're reviewing the Ruger 57 LC, and then after we get some range time in, we're going to work on the range.
Initial shot, we're going to try to sight this bad boy in. Oh, wow. That's a long trigger pull.
3 shots to sight in.
The LC Carbine is a nice gun. However, it's got a very long trigger, 6-pull average of 8.8 pounds. And as you can see, it's got a very long reset. So not the best trigger in the world. However, it is extremely accurate. We got out past 100 yards and it seemed to be a very accurate gun. Extremely reliable. Not one malfunction. It's several hundred rounds. And ergonomically, it's a nice gun. It's relatively light. It's well balanced. For its purpose, not bad. Feels comfortable. So overall, pretty nice gun. A lot of fun to shoot with.
The Ruger LC Carbine controls are identical to the Ruger 57 handgun, including the trigger, mag release button, and ambidextrous 1911 style lever, thumb safety. Rounds fired through the carbine makes the felt recoil comparable to a .22 long rifle. If you're familiar with the company's pistol, you'll see at a glance that the new carbine looks a lot like the Ruger 57 grip attached to a carbine upper, and that's what kind of gun this is. The magazines are inserted in the grip like a handgun, which allows the carbine to have a bolt-over barrel design, which should result in excellent balance and easy pointability. The Ruger LC Carbine comes in a 5.7mm caliber. It has an overall capacity of 20+1 and 10+1 round magazines. The barrel length is 16.25 inches with an overall length of 20.7 to 30.6 inches. It has a 1-to-9 barrel twist and weighs only 5.9 pounds. Our scoring system consists of 3 components: construct, performance, and maintenance, each having 3 additional subcomponents, with each of these subcomponents evaluated at 33.3%. The scores are then tallied up and divided by 3 for an overall rating. Midwest Magnum considers any score above 85% to be a quality firearm. As you can see, the Ruger LC Carbine scored a 90% with an overall A- rating.
Welcome back to Midwest Magnum. I'm Kurt.
I'm Daryl.
Today we're reviewing the Ruger LC 57. We took this out to the range a couple times, put through a decent amount of ammo.
We ran through quite a bit.
We had a mixed bag on this one between Wes and Matt, Daryl, and myself. Matt loved it. Matt absolutely loved it. Wes and I were kind of like, it's okay. Daryl didn't like it.
I am definitely not their target demographic for this gun.
It did not malfunction once, so
Nope,
it's
that's a win.
It's a very reliable gun. The trigger is not good. I mean, it is a deep, deep trigger with a ton of play.
Oh, wow. That's a long trigger pull.
I never felt like I could figure out where the reset was.
You can't.
Nobody could.
Nobody could. Which is not going to be very conducive in your accuracy department. You need to know when that trigger's going to break. I thought before I fired the gun, my only complaint was going to be the stock, because it made no sense to me why that was sitting there. A gun that they designed this well with, and you've got a Picatinny setup. Mm-hmm. Something along the lines of a Sig minimalist type stock would have been the way to go. To put that clunky thing on there, I thought was bad. But the trigger made me forget all about any other complaint I would have had.
Gun is clear.
Yep.
So if you can see, I mean, there's just, it keeps going and going and going, and it finally goes off.
But then it goes, then click.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It goes all the way down, and then there's like another click to it. 8.8. Eight 7.8. That was the lowest. I mean, it was over 8 pounds trigger pull, and
it's very stagey and crunchy, and it's got so many stages that it'll go through.
It's not even really 8+ pound trigger pull. It's more of the play, how long it is, how chunky it is, where it's like
it's very stagey as it goes back, and then that final one goes whoop, bang.
Yep.
Which I thought was very I think if you got used to that trigger, or you didn't ever know what a good trigger felt like, you'd think that's the bomb.
Well, even if you knew what a good trigger is, if you trained with this and shot, you'd figure it out.
Oh, absolutely. But it's just one of those things that I kind of think to myself, Ruger, you kind of missed on this one, I think.
With that deep pull, it was fine up to 40 yards, 50 yards. But when we started shooting at 100, it made a big difference. And this isn't a table gun. We're not going to be sitting down on the table and shooting it.
No, this is definitely, I can see where some people might consider this a varmint gun, a truck gun while out on the farm type business. And if you can't hit what you're aiming at, what's the point?
Yeah. And you get a ton of play in the barrel when you're pulling that trigger that deep.
Yeah, you can definitely. That really, to me, wrecked the whole gun. I liked the notion. I liked the idea. Before I had fired it, I started handling it. And that first time I fired it, remember how many times I stopped? That trigger is atrocious. That's enough. I kept looking at the gun thinking it had malfunctioned because I'm pulling and pulling and pulling it.
Nothing was happening.
And nothing, I kept looking for the malfunctions. Like, what's wrong with this gun?
Yeah.
And I finally, and that's when Wes finally said, just jerk it back. And I did, and it fired. And I'm like, that's the worst trigger I have ever felt in my life. I mean, I felt Nerf guns with better triggers than that.
Well, and we just recently reviewed the Ruger PC.
Right.
And, if I'm looking at the two of these, I'm going to take the PC over this because it has more of a practical use. Now, I know that's a 9mm.
Exactly.
And I know most people buying this are going to buy it for a 5.7, but again, I guess that proves the point. If you have a 5.7 pistol, it makes complete sense because that would be the reason to get the PC, because you've got tons of 9mm and it's interchangeable with the mags.
Even with my PC, I basically unrugered a lot of it. Yeah. It's laid out different, it's set up different, but there is no aftermarket support on this one.
So
the things I did to the PC, I couldn't possibly do to this one. My typical, for anything Ruger, I know it's going to be a problem, but this part, I run right to M Carbo, tandem cross. Nothing. There's no support for that. Street prices on this thing are around $800.
Yeah.
That I'm seeing $800, $840-ish. And I'll be honest, and I know some people get upset with this, it feels cheap. And I don't mean cheap as in I'm going to break the gun. It feels cheap, like this is not $800 worth of materials and engineering. It just feels, it was one of those guns I handled and said, that price point doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Yeah. We had fun shooting it, trying to hit at different ranges with a 5.7. It's got a nice vortex scope on it, but outside we talked about this, the four of us, and outside of having a 5.7 pistol already,
right?
I'm not sure what the mindset is or what the feature is, except having a unique gun.
Yeah, you've got a unique gun. I have noticed that manufacturers are more and more suddenly coming out with 5.7 offerings, which I guess that's going to be the new hotness for 23 and 24. Which
they better follow up with the ammo.
Well, that would be nice, but every time you squeeze the trigger, it's sort of like a 300 or an 8.6. It's like you see dollar bills flying down range. It's like that's no fun, and especially with the trigger that awful.
And we have 4 or 5 gun shops within a 20-mile radius, and every time we go in, they're either out or they have 2 or 3 boxes.
Yeah. If you've already owned the 5.7 Ruger,
it makes sense.
It makes perfect sense to have. Hopefully, or either maybe you're sitting on a stack of 5.7 and you wanted a carbine. Well, there's an option for you.
Yeah.
I do know that from what I understand, the PSA Rock magazines will also fit the Ruger 5.7s and this one, which is nice because the Rugers are just the 20 rounders. Which, okay.
Yeah. It was somewhat accurate if you were stabilize. But for me,
Yeah, that's if you're using the tripod or the off bags on the bench,
had
that's
some
where we're
good
shooting it.
accuracy.
We could get some decent accuracy. This is in no way what I would consider any type of precision-y varmint gun.
No.
No.
And that's the thing. If you're running and gunning and you're going after varmints, it's a smaller target. So you need some of that stability. Again, it just didn't, some of the elements didn't match up.
Right.
It just, it doesn't make sense in the setup for what the practical use would actually be.
There are some neat features. You can definitely, flip it left or right, whichever way you want it to close. I like the fact that it's got the magazine compatibility with the pistol, because if you own the pistol, there you go.
Yeah.
That goes
There
back.
are some cool features to this
Sure.
gun. It's not all
bad.
It's not all bad. I mean, I could definitely see the excitement of those that go out and buy this, and if you commit to it, I'm sure you're going to have fun with it. I'm sure.
Absolutely. Like with my PC, you can reverse your charging handle.
Yep.
It's got a last round bolt hold open and bolt release. So unlike the PC where you need to, this is set up differently, which I like the setup, and I like the fact that it is threaded for a suppressor. That's pretty, you don't see that too often with a 5.7 barrel being set up, for a suppressor.
It's got the folding stock here too.
And you can set it either way, left or right, which is nice, because the one thing I noticed as I was fooling around with it, when we had the scope off and we were playing around with it, is this will catch you right here.
Yeah.
And the upper, I was like, whoa, that would have to be flipped if I owned that gun.
Yep. And it's, it's unlike
it's cheesy.
The last ones we've had, they really lock, and they lock tight like the Tika. But this is, you got a lot of play to it. There's no lock to it, so it's not a super loud gun when we shot it.
And I noticed with the people that were shooting it suppressing, it doesn't seem that much quieter either.
Yeah, it doesn't have a lot of recoil to it.
It has negligible recoil.
Yeah, none. But ergonomically, like you said, there are different parts of this gun that
this piece, the very first time when we had the scope off, and I threw that up to my shoulder, I slammed that piece right into my upper lip.
Well, and maybe they did think that through. That's why you can reverse everything.
Sure.
So,
which is nice.
Yeah, it's, and so this isn't a total dud. I mean, by no means. We just didn't. And again, we didn't care for it probably because some of the guns we have just recently shot were awesome.
Oh yeah.
During the winter, it's a lot harder for us to get out, and so when you're not going through all those different guns. And by the way, we do not get these from the gun manufacturers. These are all part of our gun collection, whether it's Matt, Wes, Daryl, or myself, or Central Arms. These are not given to us by Ruger and saying, hey, I mean, you can tell if Ruger gave us this gun and we did this video today, we'd have to send it back.
They'd want their check back.
So we get that a lot in the comments, and it's we are not doing that. So, but that's why we give these fair assessments, because again, nice gun, not a great gun.
I would love to see, you might want to revisit this gun if you can get some aftermarket support. Love to see a complete trigger change out. That could maybe make a difference.
That's a very good point.
This gun.
If you put a decent trigger on this gun doubles in its effectiveness. Like, to me, I would actually like having this gun with a different trigger.
Oh, absolutely. That to me was the deal breaker. It's just like, if that were mine, it would have already been on its way back to the gun store.
Yeah.
Like, I ain't keeping this one.
And we complain about triggers a lot, and we're very, we could say we're trigger snobs, because we've got some fantastic triggers. This one, though, we have a right to really kind of bitch about, because it's probably the worst that we've dealt with yet. And sorry, Jake, but
sorry, Jake.
but it's
sorry. We know it's your gun, but and then think about my Ruger PC. I didn't have to do a thing to that trigger because that trigger was so nice. It's like, Ruger, what are you doing?
We were sitting around the other night having some beers at the bonfire up at Eaglestone. We were talking about this, and I think we all hit it on the head, where it's almost like Ruger has a multitude of different gun development teams. And some of those teams really know what they're doing, and the others are maybe breaking in, cutting their teeth, because from one gun to the next, it's like you hit it out of the park here, but man, you really screwed the pooch in this one.
Yeah, exactly. And to me, this one, it kind of looks like they dragged it through the warehouse of spare parts. And it's like, I mean, I get what they were trying to do. Their premise was we're building it around the 5.7 pistol.
Yep.
And they kind of just did what they did. And it's okay. But
I think this is one of those guns you're going to love or hate. It's just like Matt fell in love with it. And the rest of us were kind of like, I don't think Wes and I hated it. I think you did.
Oh, I hated it.
But
that's why I quit shooting it and gave him it's just,
yeah.
Here's all my rounds I was going to shoot. I'm going to go over here.
Yeah,
you enjoy. I'm done.
Once you shoot it, once you take 10 rounds through this, you'll know whether you like this gun or not. And it's honestly, if it makes complete sense, you're going with the LC if you've got 5.7, the PC if you've got 9mm. But if you were getting into this and you were like, well, which one do I go with? I'd go with the LC, with the PC, because 9mm is a lot easier to get. Again,
less expensive.
It's and
a lot less.
It's a lot less expensive. And again, when you're shooting these guns for their purpose, they're not precision guns, so they're going to have pretty much the same effectiveness. With this trigger, I'm going with the PC is more effective than the LC.
Yeah, the trigger.
Because the PC had a nice trigger on it.
I was surprised.
We have 1 definite, 2 and 1 absolutely not.
Well, yeah, I'm the absolutely not guy here.
My recommendation would be, if you're considering getting this gun, try to find somebody that has one and shoot it before you get it.
At least try to handle this gun.
Yeah. If aftermarket parts come out, well, things change. Now you can change things out.
That could change things. But as it stands right now, there was nothing I could do for Jake to set this one up proper.
And
I wish I could have. There's nothing I could do.
There's nothing worth in spending close to $1,000 and getting a gun that you're not absolutely in love with.
Yeah.
So based on the reliability and based on other factors, if you can get used to this gun, and with the way the 5.7 ammo is right now, you're going to put a lot of ammo through this to get used to it, I would assume. It could be a really good gun.
I would say that if you've already got the pistol, this is a must-buy, because you've already married into the system.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at it as a first-timer thinking, oh, do I want to get into 5.7? I think there are better options out there than this one.
Yeah, it's a good
I really
point.
do. There are better options.
Good point. It's a gun for those that have the 5.7 pistol, maybe not for those that don't.
Right. If you've already got the Ruger 5.7, this is your gun. If you're kind of thinking you're interested in 5.7 carbine, there's some better options out there.
Yeah. So thanks for watching. Make sure to hit the like button, the alert button, so that you can get notified of our upcoming videos. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe. It really helps us in supporting the channel. Thanks for watching our video. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and the alerts so that you don't miss any of our future videos. And by the way, that logo right there, you can click that to subscribe. So show us how good your aim is. That logo right there, that one. Go ahead, click it.